David, thank you so much for joining us, I-77 Mobility, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you for having me and for having my counterpart over here with NCTA, Warren. You'll get to meet him a little later, but what I want to do is share with you a little bit of information about I-77 Express and about I-77 Mobility Partners and what we're doing within the roadway and within the community to a degree. So let me, without further ado, share my screen and we will get started. And you all let me know if you see it. If you do, then I'll move forward.
I think we're good on my end. Yep, I see some thumbs, so I think we're good.
All right. So I-77 Express, what we're about is getting you where you want to be sooner. And the way that we have done that is through a public-private partnership. Public-private partnership in this case involves I-77 Mobility Partners, which is who I'm with. We're financing, developing, and designing, constructing, and operating I-77 Express, the roadway. And we're in partnership with NCDOT, who retains ownership of the roadway, and they provide oversight over us as far as how we are managing it. And then we're also in partnership with the North Carolina Turnpike Authority, which is responsible for the NC Quick Pass accounts that are connected to transponders that are used on our roadway, and also all customer service that is involved with the NC Quick Pass program. And as she said earlier, I'll probably be moving a little quicker than maybe you can read it, but this will be available to you at a later point, so you can go back over it and really get it in detail if you need it. So I-77 Express has an investment within the project, and those investments are a combination of I-77 Mobility Partners' own investors, which have $250 million in the project, as well as project financing that includes $289 million of debt. So the private investment is instrumental because it basically helps us get this project done a lot sooner than if it had just been through NCDOT or public funds. Tolls paid within I-77 Express go directly to paying for operations and maintenance of the roadway and to eliminate the debt that was mentioned earlier of the roadway before any investor sees any return on their investment. So as far as the roadway is concerned, I-77 Express is the 26 miles of road from or on I-77 between Charlotte and Mooresville. The express lanes are basically in the median between what used to be I-77. And there are two express lanes, northbound and southbound in each direction, from Charlotte up to exit 28 in Cornelius. And from there, from Cornelius to Mooresville, there are one lane, or is one lane in each direction for northbound and southbound. So of course, the reason for that is mainly because of geographic constrictions of the causeway, which caused us not to be able to put two lanes from Cornelius to Mooresville. The same number of free lanes existed now, or exists now, that did before. So all the same general purpose lanes that were on 77 before we began the process of making I-77 Express still exist. You still can use them the same way. Drivers have a choice of using the express lanes, those general purpose lanes that existed before, or a combination of both. So you can kind of curate your ride depending on how the flow of traffic is and how quickly you need to get to where you need to be. Dynamic pricing is used to maintain the minimum average speed of 48 miles per hour on I-77 Express. So that's the reason that we fluctuate the pricing to a degree on certain parts of the roadway to ensure that the amount of traffic that's flowing on the road can still maintain a 48 mile per hour average minimum speed. And we'll talk more about dynamic pricing in just a few minutes. And of course, the express lanes assist with traffic flow, not just in the express lanes, but also in eliminating some of the traffic that would be in the general purpose lanes, which helps them flow better as well. There have been some additional projects that were added to the I-77 Express contract or project, so to speak. And those projects include connections between I-77 Express and I-85 to improve those interchanges. Also, we added, and I'm being blocked a little bit by this block here, but we added some, there we go, some exits to exit 23, 25, 28, and 30 from I-77 Express to help with connectivity. And then also we redesigned the connection between I-277 in Charlotte and I-77 Express to try to minimize the impact on the neighborhoods around it and give some better access to travelers. There's also been new sidewalks, bike lanes, lighting. There's been new bridges added across the whole stretch of the project as well. Some of those we'll talk about in a second as well. And also we constructed a new pedestrian tunnel that is in Huntersville, and it's right in the area where the Cats Park and Ride is, if you're familiar with that. And also some new roundabouts at Griffith Street and Davidson to improve traffic in that area. And of course, general rehabilitation of the lanes was also a part of the project. So not only are we building I-77 Express and those bridges and all those other facilities and structures, but also we're rehabilitating the existing general purpose lanes. So basically milling and filling them and repaving them as we go as well. So two of those new structures that I talked about are the Lakeview and the Hambright Road direct connectors. And what those are bridges that were that did not have access to I-77 before the project, but now they do have access through I-77 Express. So what we did was rebuild those bridges and add direct ramps from the bridges to I-77 Express, which allows people to get onto I-77 Express and then onto I-77 if they need to from I-77 Express. So if you're familiar with coming down to Charlotte, you probably have seen those bridges as you're approaching Huntersville, and there's one in Charlotte as well. They look like ramps that are coming out of the median, literally. So they're kind of hard to miss if you've come this way probably in the last year or a year and a half. So the numbers, everybody's always interested in seeing what has actually been happening and what are the totals. So as you can tell by this graphic, there's 620,000 unique vehicles that have used I-77 Express, and all of these numbers are taken as of or from November 2019 through this point now. So since November 2019, when we had our full opening of all 26 miles, we've had 620,000 unique vehicles, 23,000 unique vehicles used every day, or every weekday, I should say, on I-77 Express, and then 4.1 million total trips taken on I-77 Express in that time period. Of those people that are using the roadway, there's 51% of them that are using the transponder tag, whether it's a NC Quick Pass or an Easy Pass or some other transponder. There's 51% of them that are using a transponder and choosing to do that rather than bill by mail. And then on average, most people are using about $4.45 monthly for their bills. So most people are using about that amount per month. So yes, they're not necessarily using it every day, but they're, again, curating their ride for what they need. The great part about I-77 Express that I always like to tout is that we have roadside assistance for those who use the corridor. So the I-77 Express corridor is that 26 miles, but in that corridor, we include the general purpose lanes because we're maintaining and regulating those lanes as well as we are the express lanes. So our roadside assistance applies to anyone in the general purpose lanes or in the express lanes for that whole 26-mile corridor. That team is dedicated for 24/7 service to provide you any kind of roadside assistance that you need as far as like changing tires, providing water for your car, even giving signaling assistance for you if your car is too disabled for them to assist you. They will provide some signaling assistance and blocking the roadway or the side of the roadway until a tow truck arrives for you. So I always tell people, please use that number if you are in that part of the road of I-77. And the number is at the bottom, 1-855-477-2018. Again, it's a 24/7 service. In addition to that, our operations and maintenance crew also provides roadway cleanup. They do vegetation control. They do road repairs, like fixing potholes once everything is constructed. And they also do traffic control whenever there is an incident, a vehicle incident on the roadway. So they also assist our emergency responders in that role. Accessing I-77 Express is not as difficult as a lot of people think it is. Once you've been on the roadway, if you've already driven it, you've probably already seen that it's not that difficult when you're using the signs. Others sometimes find it difficult if they have not seen graphics like what we have on this page, or just haven't driven it. But there are 11 access points in each direction on I-77 Express. So you can get in and out in multiple places along the way. You're not stuck in the express lanes if you choose to use it. You can certainly get out at a point, and usually much sooner than you would think. All of these entrances and exits allow you to get in and out safely with good merging distance. There's usually about a 500-foot minimum lane change for each of those merging lanes. And most of the merging lanes have at least 1,500 to 2,000 feet in just about all of those locations. So you have more than enough opportunity to merge in and out. And as you can see by the diagram, it's very similar to just merging in and out of the interstate on a normal basis. So some of the signage that you will see on I-77 Express looks a little different than what you would see just on general I-77, but it's still giving you the same type of information. A quarter of a mile ahead of each segment or each entry and exit point that you would, is what we call a segment. You will see the I-77 Express lane entrance sign. You will also see the rates listed a quarter of a mile ahead of each segment. So you have plenty of time to decide whether that rate is worth your getting onto I-77 Express for that segment that it applies to. The toll rate displayed is the toll rate that you will pay as long as you are using a transponder. Bill by mail is a little different, and Warren will explain that. Toll rates posted on I-77 Express signs, they display what I just said, those transponder rates, and then the additional digital message signs that you see throughout the corridor, which are same kind of signs that usually show amber alerts and things. They also show roadway information and detour information if needed, if there's something going on the highway up ahead. So we have people monitoring the roadway 24/7. So if there's a wreck up ahead, we will change those digital message signs to say there is an incident at mile marker 31, consider detour, consider exiting, or something of that nature to help drivers out as well. So those toll segments that I just mentioned, they are, again, there's like 11 exit and entry points, and those segments are from each entry to exit point. So you can see on this map how it's broken down, and then according to this map, along with the numbers on the map to the right, is the explanation of what each of those segments represents. So you'll see in that chart 1N and 7S, that represents between mile marker 11 on I-77 to Cindy Lane. So Cindy Lane is the marker for where that segment would end, and vice versa, depending on which direction you're going on the highway. So each segment has its own toll rate. So the rate that you see on the sign, a quarter of a mile ahead of that segment, is the rate that you will pay for that particular segment. Each segment has its own rate, and you will see a sign displaying that rate a quarter of a mile ahead of each of those segments. So at each of those points, you have the opportunity to get out of the express lanes if you are in the express lanes, if you see a rate of the upcoming segment that you do not want to pay, or that you think that you don't need to pay anymore because maybe the traffic is moving faster in the general purpose lanes now. So you have the opportunity to get out based on each segment's rate and based on those entry and exit points. So the principles that we use for pricing, and specifically dynamic pricing within I-77, basically align with the demand for use of I-77 Express and the demand basically to keep the speed running at a minimum average speed of 48 to 56 miles per hour within I-77 Express. So those two factors are what will change or what determine how dynamic pricing fluctuates throughout the day. So toll segments, they vary in length, even though they're from an entry and an exit point. They're not all the same length of distance. But just because they're not the same length of distance doesn't mean that they're, or because they are the same length of distance or not the same length of distance, has nothing to do with how the pricing will be. So the pricing is determined by the direction and the time period of the day and traffic at the time period of day. So dynamic toll rates, they can fluctuate as often as every 5 minutes, but that does not mean that they do fluctuate every 5 minutes. It just depends on the flow of traffic and keeping that average minimum speed in a range of 48 to 56 miles per hour. We can only adjust the rates within the minimum and maximum toll rates established by the contract and by North Carolina law. So we're going to show you what those minimum and maximum rates are per segment. And again, we can only fluctuate the rates between those minimums and maximums at any point during the day. So dynamic mode rate range. So on this chart, you can see the minimum rate that we have for each of those segments that we just talked about a few slides ago. And you can see the maximum rate that we have for each of those segments. That does not mean that that's going to be the minimum all day, nor is it going to be the maximum all day. It just depends on what the traffic flow is, how or what time of day it is. And basically those two factors, as we mentioned before, are the only things that will determine it. If traffic is light and it's in nighttime, the rate will be lower. If traffic is heavy and it's during rush hour, the rate will be higher, because what they're trying to do is keep the amount of people in the express lanes moving at the rate that we have determined to be 48 miles per hour to 56 miles per hour. So as traffic gets heavier in the express lanes, the price will go up to deter more people from getting in them, to ensure that traffic is moving at the right speed. And as traffic decreases, the rate will go down, so that if folks choose to use it, they can, but the rate will be down lower because there's not as much of a need for the lanes at that point. And the last thing, I just want to remind everyone that they can get all of this information, but much more in depth, through our website at i77express.com. You can also look at the toll rates there, and to help you plan your trip, you can see through our Plan Your Trip tool what it will be or what it will cost, and what the route could be if you use the Plan Your Trip tool within our website. You can also take a virtual ride through the website. We have a video that basically will ride you through multiple segments, show you how to read the wayfinding signs, shows you how dynamic pricing works, and feel free to follow us as well on our social media channels. We're connected to Facebook, Twitter, and we are connected within YouTube. So with that, I will turn it over to Warren.
Well, before we do that, we do have two questions, so I thought we could go ahead and jump in and do those. The first question from John Madison, he asked, with nearly an estimated 2.5 million revenue per month, what is the estimate for retirement of debt? First question. And will there be a turnover of I-77 Express from mobility to NCDOT or maybe NC Turnpike in the future? So two questions there, the debt and transfer.
The second question, will there be a turnover? As far as I know, that is not a part of the contract to be a turnover until the debt and all of the financing has been relinquished. And right now the contract is for 50 years. So as far as I know, there's no turnover of that contract before that time period ends. Warren might have some more information about that than I do, but that's my knowledge at this point. And could you repeat the first question? Or Warren, if you want to go ahead and add to it.
Well, I just wanted to phrase it directly that NCDOT owns the roadway completely. What I-77 Mobility Partners has, as David alluded to, is a 50-year contract for the toll revenue concession, in exchange for which they took on the debt. They brought in $250 million of private money to pay back at the risk of the private equity investors, not anybody else. They are responsible for construction, operations, and maintenance. So that's the contractual relationship, but NCDOT still owns the road. And when the contract is over in 50 years, Mobility Partners moves on to whatever they want to do, and then NCDOT becomes responsible for operations, maintenance, and toll setting.
Got it. Thank you. Second question from Chuck. He, not so much a question as more of a consideration about maybe adding a metered entrance ramp onto I-77 South from Lane Tree. He says it backs up almost every day with just the amount of vehicles that pass through getting onto 77 South. So just a recommendation there.
Chuck, I would say that was not added to the contract or the scope of work. So at this point, that is not a part of what we would be doing. I would assume that if it is addressed at some point, it'll be addressed by the state directly. Warren, if you have any other info, let me know. But as far as I know, that was not a part of ours.
That wasn't part of the design, and not being a roadway design engineer, I should leave it at that. And if adding a ramp is something you're that interested in, the organization to start with is the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, or CRTPO, which would be the lead local planning agency that would look into adding that kind of infrastructure to the 77 corridor.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think our representative for Statesville is William Morgan, who sits on that board for Statesville. So Chuck, maybe a conversation with William. Before we move on, David, thank you so much. Did anyone else have a question that they need? It was kind of a silly question, but just you mentioned, you said the word unique vehicles. So I was just curious what's a unique vehicle? What does that mean?
We use the term unique vehicles, but we basically can use it synonymously with different vehicles. So we're counting vehicles as they're going through and determining who's using the roadway. And some people use it in the same vehicle more than once a day. So when we say unique or different vehicles, we're not counting those people or their trips multiple times. We're saying that each vehicle that we're counting within those numbers is a new vehicle or a different vehicle, not the same vehicle that used the roadway 2 or 3 times a day.
That's good. That's real good clarity. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was really helpful. And I'm sure if other people have questions, we can give them your contact info. We can follow back up. So
sure.
We're going to turn it over to Warren. Warren, thank you so much.
Alrighty.
We're going to let Warren here get his screen up here. And he's with the Turnpike Authority.
All right.
Warren.
Okay. My screen changed a bit when I started sharing, so am I coming through?
It looks good on our side.
All righty. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I hope we're a little lenient on time here, but I'll do my best to get through this. My name is Warren Cooksey. I'm the Director of Outreach and Community Affairs for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. We are a business unit of NCDOT, so I'm an NCDOT employee. And I'm here to talk about NC Quick Pass and the I-77 Express lanes, now that you've heard about the corridor from David. I want to start by providing a little regional context. There are 2 toll facilities open to traffic in the greater Charlotte region. You've heard about I-77, of course, and to the southeast in this map in Union County, we have the Monroe Expressway, which is a more traditional fixed toll highway where everybody on it is paying a toll. There's no free lanes to it. If you want a free travel, you got to go on the existing US 74 through Union County and deal with about 27 traffic signals. But I also want to place I-77 express lanes in the context of a regional network of express lanes that the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization has asked for, that includes the projects you see in blue. The I-45 express lanes are under construction. The US 74 and I-77 South Corridor express lanes are in various stages of development, but the I-77 express lanes are part of this regional network. Each will have some unique aspects, each will have some differences, but the unifying factor for all of them is that NC Turnpike Authority, through the NC Quick Pass program, is the toll collection agency for all of them, and will be when they open up. So talk a bit about toll collection in North Carolina. We don't do toll booths in this state. If you've never been on a toll facility in North Carolina, you might not know that, but for those who have, you realize you never had to stop at a toll booth. You just get on the roadway and keep going. Everything is handled electronically through equipment on the roadway itself. And so there are 2 ways to pay a toll in North Carolina, since you're not stopping and paying while you travel. Represented here. To your left on the screen, you see an example of an invoice that we'll send out. If you don't have any contact with us beforehand and you just use I-77 Express or one of the other toll facilities in the state, The equipment photographs the license plate of the car, sends the bill to the registered owner of the vehicle for travel within roughly a 30-day period. We don't send you a bill for every trip. We start roughly a 30-day billing cycle and catch up at the end of it. To the right, you see an example of an NC QuickPass transponder. That's some industry jargon. I'll be using that consistently. That's a device that connects your car to a prepaid account. You have the option of opening a prepaid account with the Turnpike Authority. Works like any other prepaid account, Starbucks, school lunch, any debit account. You put the cash in the account, and then we deduct tolls from that account as you travel. Now, in addition to the convenience of that, not having to worry about a bill, another advantage to the prepaid account is that we offer a discount. You can save about 35% on tolls in North Carolina if we're deducting them from a prepaid account instead of sending you a bill. A little bit more about billing, because that raises a lot of questions in people's minds. We are following state statutory guidelines passed by the legislature on this process. So the first invoice we send out is just the toll balance. There's no additional fees or anything for that. The cost of the program for the first invoice is baked into the toll cost. However, if we have to send a second invoice, we do have authorization by law to add a $6 processing fee, and so we do, in addition to any unpaid balance. If, unfortunately, there's a third invoice necessary, now we are directed to add a $25 civil penalty in addition to the $6 processing fee we can add. Now, in accordance with the state constitution, that civil penalty goes to the public school system, but it appears on that third invoice if we have to send one. If we have to send a fourth invoice, the civil penalty doesn't continue, but the processing fee does. And after a fourth invoice, if it remains unpaid, the Turnpike Authority is one of several agencies in the state that can place a registration hold on a vehicle. If you look on the DMV's website about what can trigger a registration hold, at the bottom of the list, it says failure to pay a toll invoice for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. So that's something to be aware of if you go with the bill by mail option, what the escalation is like if a bill is unpaid. You can, again, not have to deal with any of that by going with the prepaid account route. And we have several devices to connect your car to that account. The one shown here is the basic NC QuickPass sticker. We'll give you one of these free for every vehicle you put on your account. You stick it to your windshield, as you see in the photo here, just behind your rearview mirror. You never have to see it while driving. And as an added bonus, this not only works for toll facilities in North Carolina, but it's also the same technology as Peach Pass in Georgia and SunPass and ePass facilities in Florida. So you can prepay tolls in those states with your NC QuickPass sticker if that's where you're traveling. If you travel a little more broadly, all the states that are now colored purple, these are all members of the EasyPass Consortium, and we have a different transponder for that. Unfortunately, there's a cost here, $7.49 due to the technology, but this NC QuickPass EasyPass hard case transponder lets you prepay tolls not only in the states colored blue, like the sticker, but also all the purple states that use the EasyPass technology. So you get the best of both worlds. The industry jargon term for this is interoperability. And North Carolina is the most interoperable state in the nation with these different protocols for reading transponder devices. Just as with the sticker, there is a way to mount this on your windshield behind your rearview mirror so you never have to see it. We give you Velcro strips that take care of that. So mounting it is pretty straightforward. But in fact, that's the one I have just for broader travel. Now, there are ways to travel toll-free in the express lanes that are worth covering. Turning more specifically to I-77 again, the topic of our conversation today. Motorcyclists do not pay a toll for traveling in express lanes. That's federal law. They don't have to do anything special for that. We capture the license plate appropriately. We know it's a motorcycle license plate. So motorcyclists travel toll-free on the I-77 express lanes. Not on the Monroe Expressway though. So motorcyclists, they'll pay a toll to use Monroe. In the middle there, you see a representation of any public transit vehicle is eligible to get a special NC QuickPass transponder that allows for toll-free travel on those I-77 express lanes. So anyone using mass transit wouldn't pay any kind of extra on their fare to use the express lanes. We have a transponder that allows those buses to use them toll-free. And finally, for this category, well, almost finally, we have an option on the I-77 express lanes for toll-free travel for high occupancy vehicles. There must be 3 or more in the car. That's a driver and 2 passengers. And the car must communicate with us that it's eligible for this. I'll cover that in just a moment. I do want to close this slide, however, by noting the one class of vehicle that can travel toll-free in any facility in North Carolina are first responder vehicles with a special NC Quick Pass transponder. We have a special transponder we issue to police, fire, ambulance, sheriff's departments, so they use our facilities toll-free because they're out protecting us, and we want them to get where they need to go faster when they're responding to calls. So I did want to note that as well. But getting back to the HOV provisions, if you qualify for that, there are 2 ways to tell us that you qualify. To your left, you see a special switchable transponder called the NC Quick Pass Easy Pass Flex. And it's the easiest way to get this toll-free travel on I-77 express lanes. If you're in a qualifying vehicle, again, 3 or more people, just flip the switch to HOV on before getting into the express lanes. And then when you get into the express lanes, we'll read that transponder and not charge your account any tolls. If you don't want to spend the $16.49 plus tax that transponder costs, however, you can get the toll-free travel with a regular NC Quick Pass transponder, either the free sticker or the $7.49 hard case. But to do that, you have to download our mobile app, go to our NC Quick Pass HOV website, register the transponder number, and then tell us at least 15 minutes before you travel, up to 7 days before you travel. So this is really an option for planned high occupancy vehicle travel, like you're going to a Panthers game or something when those start back up again. But it is a way of getting that toll-free high occupancy vehicle travel on 77 express lanes without buying the extra equipment. So did want to make sure you're aware of that. I want to close now with some statistics of how these new toll facilities in the area have affected our operations at the Turnpike Authority. This is a chart we showed our board earlier this year. It's 2 years worth of monthly transaction data. And I just want to focus on 2 months for you to show the impact of the Monroe Expressway and 77 express lanes. Call your attention there to October of 2018. That was the last month when the Triangle Expressway was the only toll facility in North Carolina. And you can see we had about 5 million transactions that month. If you fast forward a month to October of 2019, you add the Monroe Expressway, you add the partial opening of the I-77 express lanes. Within just a year, we had about doubled our transaction count to nearly 10 million. So lots of people using the new facilities, as David showed you, and as it shows up in our transaction counts. Another way that shows up is in new NC Quick Pass accounts, and we've shown our board this as well. September 2017, more than a year before the Monroe Expressway opened, as you would expect, all the new account opening activity was really in the Triangle area because of the Triangle Expressway. Go forward a year to September of 2018, we're almost ready to open the Monroe Expressway, getting close to opening the I-77 express lanes. You start to see new NC Quick Pass activity in Union County and the I-77 corridor. But once you get to September 2019, after the Monroe Expressway has been open, after the first part of 77 express lanes have opened, you can see lots of new accounts being opened in the area, especially Southwest Iredell County and the town of Huntersville, leading the state in zip codes with new NC Quick Pass accounts. So I really like this to show the impact of the facilities on our business. And I want, for a chamber audience, I figured impact on business was something you would like to see as well. There are numerous ways to contact us. You can find out more about us and our projects at ncdot.gov Turnpike. ncquickpass.com is where you find out more about transponders and toll rates on the Monroe Expressway, Triangle Expressway. 2 Twitter accounts to follow, and my email is rwcooksey@ncdot.gov. So with that, I thank you, and let's see if any questions showed up as I stop sharing. Thank you.
All right. We do have a couple questions for you, Warren.
Right.
We've got Andrew has asked a good question. He's been stuck behind accidents on the toll lanes a few times with no way to get off the toll. Is there any way that the response team to the incidents are able to pull up those divider poles to redirect traffic to let them out?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? It didn't quite come through.
So Andrew says that he's been on the toll lane when there's been an accident, but he wasn't near an egress where he could get out. Are those poles removable so that maybe they could move traffic out versus being stuck there while they're removing the accident?
Actually, I probably should answer that.
I'll defer to David.
Okay, thanks, David.
Technically, those poles don't have to be removed, Andrew. I think that's who asked the question. The reason they don't have to be removed is because they are flexible, and in a situation where the emergency responders deem it necessary for traffic to be moved to a different lane, they will tell you to go over those delineators, and that's what we call them. Now, granted, you should not drive over those delineators at a highway rate of speed because it will tear up your car. But if you're going over them at 5 miles per hour, as you're just rolling over it, as they would guide you, they will not do any damage to your car, and you can go over them without any problem. They are still there to delineate the lane from traffic, though, when there is an emergency. So please do not cross over them if you're sitting in traffic waiting because of an emergency, because there is a chance that people in the express lanes or vice versa, depending on which lane you're in, might still be flowing at a higher rate of speed, and you could cause an accident. So just go with whatever the emergency responders are telling you. If it's deemed that you need to get over into the other lane across those delineators, they will certainly guide you to do that, and it will not harm your vehicle.
Okay, so they can roll over them, but not to do it unless they're directed, right?
Yes.
All right, Chuck had a question. He wants to know if there are any discounts for electric vehicles on the passes.
Yeah, that one I see in the chat. No, there are not. The goal of the toll is to keep traffic moving, and so the only discount that's offered is on the prepaid side of things. There are no vehicle classifications that change that.
And he also just wanted to clarify that the Quick Pass sticker does not work in the Easy Pass state.
That is correct. Going back, and this information is on the ncquickpass.com website as well. The sticker, the technology in the sticker works only with the readers we have in North Carolina, that Peach Pass uses in Georgia, and that Sun Pass uses in Florida.
Okay, and then James asked the question, and I love this, is a great question. Do you know if the transponders are assigned to business vehicles or personal vehicles? Do y'all track that?
We actually have several different account types, but our two main different account types, we have personal accounts and business accounts. Personal accounts are eligible for any group of cars up to 5. If you have more than 5 cars, we're going to treat that as a business account. And the major difference, and you see this in our terms and conditions available online, is what the minimum opening balance is. The minimum opening balance is based on the number of cars on the account. And once you start into a business account that doesn't have a vehicle count limit, I mean, we have some business accounts with 200 and 300 vehicles, so their opening balances were kind of high. Now, whether or not, so from the perspective of the costs of travel, there's not a difference between a personal vehicle and a business vehicle. It's more of an accounting issue and a minimum opening balance issue. And for business accounts, it is basically the business owner. If the business owner wants to track what transponders are associated with which vehicles, that's something that they will need to track. We will provide the data about which transponders got billed, but we require 1 transponder per vehicle on an account, but we don't require the same transponder always to be associated with the same vehicle. So that kind of tracking would be left up to the business owner.
Okay. So it's more about how many vehicles are in the fleet than it is about whether I personally am working like one car for my business.
Yeah, a private, a mom taking, well, I shouldn't say mom taking kids to school because they may have an HOV. A mom taking a single kid to school is going to pay the same toll as a landscape truck traveling on the I-77 express lanes.
But you wouldn't, if the mom has like a home-based business, you don't consider that a business.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but the mom's vehicle is most likely on a personal account. The landscape truck is probably on a business account because it may be a landscape company with 20 trucks.
Gotcha. Okay. Andrew wanted to wrap back to the accident question, and he said, thank you. Are the first responders instructed and aware that they can deviate the traffic? Okay.
Yes, they are. They've had training with our maintenance and operations team extensively. So yes, well, at least within our corridor, they have been trained to do that. Okay. So it's just whether they deem it safe for them or for other traffic or travelers on the roadway as to whether they will do that.
That is all the questions. So if I missed a question from anybody, please, unmute and ask, or if you have a question, this is the perfect time to ask. You have David and Warren here, so please feel free to pick their brains. Hey, Mike. Did you have a question, Mike?
If you're talking to Mike Tank, the only question I had was, how are these slides going to be shared?
I will email them to you in a PDF format after this presentation, along with the recording.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you or hear you.
All right, to that point, let me send you a separate PDF. One of my slides has some animation on it, but if you give it as a PDF, you're not going to see part of it. So I'll redo it and send you a PDF for distribution.
That would be great. Thank you, Warren. It was all good information. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. We'll have you back soon, maybe in several months, just to kind of see what kind of new updates are going on. So again, I thank everyone for attending today, and I will be emailing you the video and the slides, hopefully by the end of today or first thing tomorrow. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for having us.